To get back at my enemy, I decided to drug his drink during the New Year's Gala and make him embarrass himself in front of the entire high society. Little did I know, I was the one walking straight into his trap. It was the annual New Year's Gala, the most prestigious event of the year. Every influential family attended, the politicians, business tycoons, celebrities, and heirs of powerful corporations. For one night, everyone gathered beneath dazzling crystal chandeliers, wearing expensive gowns and tailored suits while pretending to be one big happy family. I stood before the mirror, smoothing the fabric of my midnight blue gown. Every strand of my hair was perfectly styled, every piece of jewelry carefully chosen. Tonight, I looked flawless. More importantly, I was in an exceptionally good mood. Because tonight was the night my plan would finally succeed. After years of humiliation, I would finally get my revenge. My target was none other than Lucas Sterling, the cold, arrogant heir of the Sterling family and my lifelong enemy. If there was one person I couldn't stand, it was him. Ever since we were children, Lucas had made my life miserable. Whenever I ranked first in school, he'd somehow score even higher. Whenever I won an equestrian competition, he'd steal the championship. Whenever our families attended the same events, he'd find a way to provoke me with that annoyingly smug smile. To everyone else, Lucas Sterling was the perfect gentleman. Handsome. Intelligent. Elegant. The ideal heir. But I knew the truth. Behind that charming smile hid the most insufferable man I had ever met. And tonight, he would finally pay. Hidden inside my jeweled clutch was a tiny vial containing a harmless but powerful laxative. It wouldn't hurt him permanently, but it would make sure that the so-called perfect heir became the biggest joke in front of the entire elite society. I had spent weeks planning every detail. There was no way I could fail. Or so I thought. The ballroom doors opened, and conversations instantly quieted. Lucas Sterling had arrived. Standing well over 6 feet tall, dressed in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo, he carried himself with effortless confidence. His sharp features, neatly styled dark hair, and piercing gray eyes made him look as though he had stepped out of a magazine. People greeted him with admiration. Business executives rushed to shake his hand. Young socialites whispered excitedly as he walked past. I rolled my eyes. What a show-off. Asterisk. As if sensing my gaze, Lucas turned his head. Our eyes met across the ballroom. Then, he smiled. Not a friendly smile. Not even a polite one. It was the same infuriating, knowing smirk he had worn every time he defeated me. He slowly raised the champagne glass in his hand, silently toasting me from across the room. I tightened my grip on my clutch. Enjoy that smile while you still can, Lucas. Asterisk. To get back at my enemy, I decided to drug his drink during the New Year's Gala and make him embarrass himself in front of the entire high society. Little did I know, I was the one walking straight into his trap. It was the annual New Year's Gala, the most prestigious event of the year. Every influential family attended, the politicians, business tycoons, celebrities, and heirs of powerful corporations. For one night, everyone gathered beneath dazzling crystal chandeliers, wearing expensive gowns and tailored suits while pretending to be one big happy family. I stood before the mirror, smoothing the fabric of my midnight blue gown. Every strand of my hair was perfectly styled, every piece of jewelry carefully chosen. Tonight, I looked flawless. More importantly, I was in an exceptionally good mood. Because tonight was the night my plan would finally succeed. After years of humiliation, I would finally get my revenge. My target was none other than Lucas Sterling, the cold, arrogant heir of the Sterling family and my lifelong enemy. If there was one person I couldn't stand, it was him. Ever since we were children, Lucas had made my life miserable. Whenever I ranked first in school, he'd somehow score even higher. Whenever I won an equestrian competition, he'd steal the championship. Whenever our families attended the same events, he'd find a way to provoke me with that annoyingly smug smile. To everyone else, Lucas Sterling was the perfect gentleman. Handsome. Intelligent. Elegant. The ideal heir. But I knew the truth. Behind that charming smile hid the most insufferable man I had ever met. And tonight, he would finally pay. Hidden inside my jeweled clutch was a tiny vial containing a harmless but powerful laxative. It wouldn't hurt him permanently, but it would make sure that the so-called perfect heir became the biggest joke in front of the entire elite society. I had spent weeks planning every detail. There was no way I could fail. Or so I thought. The ballroom doors opened, and conversations instantly quieted. Lucas Sterling had arrived. Standing well over 6 feet tall, dressed in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo, he carried himself with effortless confidence. His sharp features, neatly styled dark hair, and piercing gray eyes made him look as though he had stepped out of a magazine. People greeted him with admiration. Business executives rushed to shake his hand. Young socialites whispered excitedly as he walked past. I rolled my eyes. What a show-off. Asterisk. As if sensing my gaze, Lucas turned his head. Our eyes met across the ballroom. Then, he smiled. Not a friendly smile. Not even a polite one. It was the same infuriating, knowing smirk he had worn every time he defeated me. He slowly raised the champagne glass in his hand, silently toasting me from across the room. I tightened my grip on my clutch. Enjoy that smile while you still can, Lucas. Asterisk. Lucas slowly lifted my phone, twirling it between his fingers. Were you looking for this? I swallowed. I don't know what you're talking about. No? His smile widened. Then tell me, Lila. Why were you following me with your camera already recording? I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Lucas leaned in just enough for his voice to become a quiet murmur. You really thought I'd fall for something that obvious? The triumphant smile slowly disappeared from my face. For the first time that night, I realized something was terribly wrong. Lucas wasn't the one who had fallen into a trap. I was. Before Lila could react, Lucas closed the distance between them. His lips crashed against hers. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't meant to be. Lila struggled, pushing against his chest, but Lucas was stronger. She fought to break free, glaring at him with every ounce of defiance she had. Lucas, let me go. He didn't answer. The years of rivalry, anger, and unspoken emotions between them seemed to explode all at once. Lila continued resisting, but as the moment stretched on, her resolve slowly began to crumble. Her mind became clouded, her heartbeat thundered in her ears, and before she realized it, she was no longer fighting him with the same determination. The next thing she knew, they stumbled backward together, losing their balance as they fell onto the bed. Warm sunlight filtered through the curtains. Lila slowly opened her eyes, wincing as a dull ache settled in her head. What happened? She blinked several times before taking in the unfamiliar room. It was a luxurious hotel suite. Her eyes widened. Then, she turned her head. Lucas Sterling was asleep beside her. For a moment, her mind went completely blank. Fragments of the previous night flashed through her memory, the gala, the hallway, the confrontation, and then nothing but scattered pieces she couldn't put together. She looked down at herself before letting out a frustrated hiss. How could I be so stupid? Of all people. I ended up spending the night with my own enemy. Determined to leave before Lucas woke up, she quietly slipped out of bed and reached for the door. Just as her fingers wrapped around the doorknob, strong arms suddenly circled her waist from behind. Lila's entire body stiffened. Strong arms remained wrapped around her waist, pulling her back before she could touch the doorknob. A low, sleepy chuckle echoed beside her ear. Trying to run, are we, Lila? She closed her eyes in frustration before turning around. Lucas stood before her, his hair slightly messy from sleep. Despite looking like he'd just woken up, there was still that infuriating confidence in his gray eyes. "What are you talking about?" she snapped, pulling herself free. "Move." Instead of stepping aside, Lucas folded his arms across his chest. "So eager to leave?" "I have no reason to stay." Lila bent down to pick up her gown from the chair, avoiding his gaze. Lucas watched her silently. "You're not even going to ask me what happened last night?" She paused. "I don't need to." "Oh? You were there." "So were you." Lila clenched her jaw. Her memories were frustratingly incomplete. She remembered confronting Lucas in the hallway, their heated argument, then everything became a blur. She hated not knowing. Lucas took a step closer. "You really don't remember?" Lila looked up, glaring at him. "If you're trying to scare me, it's not working." Before Lucas could answer, a loud knock interrupted them. Bang! 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 "Young Master Lucas." "Miss Lila." The two of them froze. Another voice sounded from outside. "The Sterling family is here. And so is the Hartwell family." Lila's eyes widened. "My family?" Lucas's expression darkened. Someone tried the doorknob. "It's locked." Another knock followed, louder this time. "Open the door immediately." Lucas sighed under his breath. "Looks like we've run out of time." "What do you mean?" Without answering, he walked to the door and unlocked it. The moment it opened, dozens of eyes landed on them. Lila's parents. Lucas's parents. Several elders from both families. And a crowd of curious hotel staff. The room fell into complete silence. Lila instinctively looked down at herself. She was still wearing Lucas's oversized shirt. Her evening gown was draped over her arm. The sight alone was enough for everyone to draw their own conclusions. Her mother's face turned pale. Lucas's grandmother slowly looked between the two of them before speaking in a calm but firm voice. "So. It seems the rumors are true." Lila frowned. "What rumors?" One of the guests held up a phone. On the screen was a photo taken earlier that morning. It showed Lucas carrying an unconscious Lila into the presidential suite the previous night. The headline beneath it read, "Sterling heir spends the night with longtime rival Lila Hartwell." The image had already spread across every major gossip page. The elders exchanged grim looks. Lila's father broke the silence. "This scandal has already reached the media." Lucas met Lila's stunned gaze. Neither of them had expected this. Their rivalry had always made headlines. But this was something entirely different. And by the look on both families' faces, neither of them would be allowed to simply walk away. "What?" Lila's voice echoed through the suite. "No." She pointed at Lucas, then at herself. "There has to be some kind of misunderstanding." Her father pinched the bridge of his nose. "Lila, your picture has already spread across every major news outlet." Her mother sighed heavily. "Everyone believes you spent the night together." Lucas's grandmother spoke with calm authority. "The Sterling family has always valued its reputation. So has the Hartwell family." Lila stared at the elders in disbelief. "You can't seriously be suggesting what I think you're suggesting." No one answered. The silence was answer enough. "Absolutely not." She threw her hands into the air. "I'm not marrying him." She jabbed a finger toward Lucas. "Him? My enemy. I'd rather become a nun." Lucas let out a quiet chuckle. Lila shot him a murderous glare. "Did you just laugh?" He shrugged. "I've never heard anyone reject me with that much enthusiasm." "Don't flatter yourself. I'm rejecting the idea." "And you?" Lucas simply slipped his hands into his pockets, looking completely unbothered. That only irritated Lila even more. "Why are you so calm?" "Because shouting won't change anything. It changes my stress level." Lucas nodded thoughtfully. I noticed. Lila looked ready to strangle him. The elders moved to the sitting area to discuss the situation, leaving the two of them standing near the window. Lila paced back and forth. There has to be another solution. We'll hold a press conference. Lucas looked at her. And say what? That nothing happened. He raised an eyebrow. Do you think they'll believe us? They saw me carrying you into the suite. You were found here this morning. The media has already written their own story. Lila groaned loudly. This is a disaster. She began pacing again. What if I disappear? Lucas blinked. Disappear? I'll leave the country. I'll become a backpacker. I'll change my name. I'll raise goats in Switzerland. Lucas stared at her for a few seconds. Then, he laughed. Actually laughed. Not the smug little smirk she hated. A genuine laugh. Lila stopped pacing. Did you just laugh at me? You were talking about raising goats. I was brainstorming. You were panicking. I am panicking. She buried her face in her hands. This can't be happening. The family discussion finally ended. Lila immediately rushed over. So? Her father looked conflicted. The elders have reached a decision. Lila's stomach dropped. To protect both families from further scandal. Lucas's grandmother continued, the two of you will announce your engagement. Silence. Lila blinked once. Then twice. No. Her voice was barely above a whisper. No. She looked around the room desperately. There has to be another way. There isn't, her father replied quietly. The rumors are already affecting both companies. This marriage isn't just about you anymore. Lila took a shaky step backward. This is insane. She turned toward Lucas, expecting him to object. Instead, he simply adjusted the cuff of his sleeve. If that's the decision, I'll respect it. Lila's jaw dropped. She marched over and grabbed him by the arm. Excuse me? He looked down at her calmly. Yes? You're just going to agree? Lucas shrugged. I don't see a better alternative. She stared at him in complete disbelief. How are you this calm? He leaned down just enough so only she could hear. Because unlike you, I've already accepted that our lives are about to change. Lila glared at him. Don't get comfortable. This engagement won't happen. I'll find a way out. Lucas's lips curved into that familiar, infuriating smile. I'll be interested to see you try. Lila narrowed her eyes. This isn't over, Lucas Sterling. No, he replied with quiet confidence. I don't think it is. As the photographers waiting outside began calling their names, Lila realized her fight wasn't just against Lucas anymore. It was against two of the most powerful families in the country. And somehow, that seemed even harder. Lila and Lucas attended their lavish engagement ceremony, smiling for the cameras while secretly wishing they were anywhere else. After the ceremony, both families dropped another bombshell. If you're going to get married, you should start living together. Lila immediately objected. What? Absolutely not. But when she returned home, all of her belongings had already been packed and delivered to Lucas's penthouse. You packed my things without asking me? Her father simply replied, it's already decided. Realizing she had no choice, Lila vowed to make Lucas regret living with her. She turned the thermostat freezing cold. She stole the blanket every night. She labeled everything in the refrigerator with giant sticky notes reading "Don't touch." She purposely left the TV on during his meetings. She played loud music early in the morning. Yet instead of getting angry, Lucas only laughed. You really planned all this? I've got at least 50 more ideas. I can't wait. His calm reactions only made Lila even more frustrated. One afternoon, while Lucas was at work, Lila wandered into his private study. I wonder what Mr. Perfect is hiding. She rummaged through the shelves until she discovered a wooden box tucked behind several books. Inside were old photographs, movie tickets, pressed flowers, a faded school festival ribbon, and a worn leather diary. Curious, she opened it. The first page read, "If anyone other than Lila is reading this, please close it." She scoffed. Too late. As she turned the pages, her smile slowly faded. September 12th. Today Lila beat me in math class. She looked so proud. I challenged her to another competition just so she'd keep talking to me. Another page. October 3rd. She cried today after arguing with her parents. I wanted to comfort her. Instead, I teased her. I don't know why I'm like this. Another. Graduation day. She looked beautiful today. I wanted to tell her. But she smiled at someone else. So I stayed quiet. Lila's heart began pounding. She reached the final entry. I've loved Lila Hartwell for 10 years. She thinks I'm her enemy. Maybe that's better. At least she never leaves my side. Lila closed the diary with trembling hands. No way. She carefully put everything back exactly where she found it. But even after leaving the study, she couldn't stop thinking about what she had read. Lucas came home that evening. Usually, Lila greeted him with a sarcastic remark. Tonight, she was unusually quiet. Lucas noticed immediately. No insults today? I'm tired. You've never been too tired to argue with me. I'm just not in the mood. Lucas narrowed his eyes. Something was definitely wrong. The next morning, Lila met her best friend, Chloe, at their favorite cafe. She blurted everything out. I found Lucas's diary. You what? He likes me. No. He loves me. Chloe nearly dropped her coffee. I knew it. Lila stared at her. You knew? It was obvious. Lila shook her head vigorously. No, it wasn't. Chloe rolled her eyes. Lila, remember when our class president offered you his hoodie because you were cold? Lila nodded slowly. Lucas snatched it away and threw his own jacket over your shoulders. He was furious. Another memory surfaced. Jessica handing Lucas a homemade drink. Lila had spent the entire afternoon complaining about Jessica. I can't stand her. She's so fake. Chloe had laughed back then. You sound jealous. I was not. Really? Lila fell silent. More memories came flooding back. Every school competition. Every argument. Every prank. Every time another girl stood too close to Lucas, something inside her had always twisted. She had always called it annoyance. But, was it? Chloe smiled knowingly. You didn't hate him. You just didn't realize what those feelings were. Lila returned home in a daze and locked herself in her room. She stared at the ceiling for hours. I'm in love with Lucas? The thought sounded ridiculous. Impossible. She had spent years calling him her enemy. The next few days became unbearable. She avoided him at breakfast. She left before he got home. If he walked into the living room, she walked out. Lucas noticed. At first, he ignored it. Then he couldn't. One evening, he knocked on her bedroom door. No answer. He opened it. Lila was sitting by the window. Why are you avoiding me? I'm not. You haven't argued with me in 4 days. She looked away. I've just been busy. Lucas sighed. I liked you better when you were yelling at me. That made her laugh despite herself. He walked closer. Lila. She finally met his eyes. What? I'd rather have you fighting with me, than pretending I don't exist. Silence filled the room. Then Lila quietly asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" Lucas's expression changed. "Tell you what? Bet you've loved me all these years." He froze. "You, read my diary." She nodded. "I'm sorry." Another long silence. Lucas laughed softly, rubbing the back of his neck. "So much for keeping that secret." Lila took a slow step toward him. "I thought you were my enemy." "So did I. I was angry whenever girls got close to you." Lucas smiled. "I know. I was angry whenever boys got close to you." They both laughed. For the first time in years, there was no competition. No sarcasm. No pride. Just honesty. Lucas gently reached for her hand. "Lila. I don't want to be your rival anymore. I want to be the person you come home to." Lila smiled through tears. "I think I've wanted that for a long time too." He cupped her face gently. "May I?" She nodded. Lucas leaned in and kissed her softly. It wasn't fueled by rivalry this time. It was gentle. Patient. A promise of a new beginning. Outside, the rain began to fall. Inside, two lifelong enemies finally stopped fighting each other. And started fighting for each other. The end. Don't forget to like and subscribe.